Ready? So good afternoon. Thank y'all for coming. Thank you for helping us get this message to our community about what happened today. So about 12:37 a.m., officers were called to a residence in the 12,700 block of Copper Springs Road, where they were investigating a possible kidnapping. And I'm going to let Chief Alan Parker go into detail about what happened this afternoon. Chief?
Thank you, Sheriff. So I'll start with the suspect's history. Just so you know, he's a 39-year-old white male. His criminal history involves he was a convicted felon, several weapons charges, and several drug charges. So there's recent history between the two, so I'll go over that briefly also. Starting back December of last year, there was a domestic battery between the two. And that same month, there was an armed burglary out in Jacks Beach that also involved a grand theft of controlled substance, petty theft, and all that was had warrants requested on that by Jacks Beach. February of this year, between the two again, there was an aggravated assault and a grand theft, and warrants were requested on that as well. March of this year, there was a simple stalking between the two. Again, warrants were requested on that one. And earlier this month, there was a burglary, which led us to today, where we ended up, the charges from today, just so you guys have that, were burglary with assault, false imprisonment, resisting an officer with violence, and I'll give you the details as far as what got us to that point. So, as Sheriff said, today, at about approximately 12:37 this morning, officers were dispatched to the 12,700 block of Copper Springs Road in reference to a potential burglary with a kidnapping. Officers that responded were familiar with the residents because they were the same that had responded back in March where he had threatened her before, the one that they had sought a warrant on. So upon arrival, they did not receive any response at the door, and the way the call came into us was through a friend of hers. She was in the house and had texted a friend, so the friend made the call. So they reached out to that friend, and they were able to make contact with her. They found that she was basically in the back bedroom, the master bedroom, could not get out of the residence without walking past him. He was armed, always known to be armed with a knife. He had threatened her many times before with a knife and a gun. So at that point, they were able to talk to her through the friend. They're able to convince her and get her able to get out of the master bathroom window. So once they had her out, got her to safety, they talked to her about a little bit more. And what had happened, she had moved away from him to where he didn't know where she was in secret. And somehow he got onto her Gmail account and was able to find conversations between her and her realtor that documented that she was renting this residence. He showed up. That's where all this started back in December, it looks like, and it escalated from there. So in one of the times that he came in, somehow he was able to disable the roll-up garage door where she could not lock it and secure it. So she thought she had it fixed. She had a screwdriver in there to help keep it locked. He was able to get through that this morning. He forced his way in, again armed with a knife. He kicked the door that entered the residence from the garage, got inside, and that's where everything started. So patrol had the information. They went up. They kept attempting to make contact. Finally, he did come to the door. He threw some objects at them. He was armed with the knife, and then he went back inside. Officers backed out. They requested SWAT. So SWAT arrived with the negotiators approximately 5 a.m. After several hours of negotiations back and forth, the suspect exited the rear of the residence, and he came out, again, armed with the knife. And as SWAT was up on the side of the house attempting to breach the fence so they could get a view of the back, he ran out, armed with the knife, did not comply with commands. They used a less lethal round. It's a 40-millimeter round. It was ineffective. He ran behind the neighboring house into the backyard. He ran on around, and SWAT paralleled from the road. As he cleared that house and was coming around, he saw him and doubled back. He started to go into the next neighbor's house, which is obviously a threat we can't have. He was trying to get into their fenced area. They deployed the dog. There was a canine there, obviously, so they deployed the dog. When the dog got to him, he was holding the dog back with his left hand, and as the SWAT officers and everybody closed, giving him commands, he raised the knife in an apparent attempt to stab the dog. The officers were well within the reactionary gap. The SWAT officer engaged them, firing his rifle, and the suspect was down at that scene. He did not survive his injuries. The state attorney's office is on scene conducting their independent investigation. This is our fourth officer-involved shooting of the year. It was the officer's second officer-involved shooting, and he's been placed on administrative leave per policy. With that, we can take any questions.
Do you know the name of the person who was in this situation, the suspect?
We do, but next of kin has not been notified, so we're not ready to release that yet.
It just sounds like this started, there was numerous problems, and you knew this going into that.
Yes, sir.
Just being the devil's advocate here. I mean, did they just assume, that this was going to end up like this, given this man's history?
You never know how it's going to end. Jim, you know, you've been doing this a long time. Every one of these scenes is different. There's always different stimulus, different things the officers have to react to. And the suspect had plenty of opportunities to just comply, and this would have been over hours ago. He pushed it to this level, and unfortunately it ended in this manner. Luckily, the victim's safe, the officers are safe, and the dog's safe.
It's just so complicated following this. The woman that was inside the house was a friend, correct? She knew that, but she was trying to keep him out.
I don't know their particular relationship
Sure.
at this time,
You
but
can
they
step up
have
to
a
the mic,
they have a history, a recent history, and she had tried to eliminate that relationship, and he found ways to re-engage.
Did she do the right thing? Or should she have called you guys immediately?
I don't want to speak for her, but from the information we have, it sounds like she wasn't in a position to do that. She was doing the best she could through her friend. She was scared for her life. You know, the suspect was terrorizing her. This is an ongoing thing, and it just culminated with a really bad incident today.
Was a restraining order ever filed?
I don't have that information at this time.
Sheriff, for you and just events like this and seeing police-involved shootings, what do you want to say? What do you want to tell the people here, this neighborhood, talking to people there? They're shocked by all of this.
Yeah.
And we had SWAT there for so long. I mean, it went over, 10 hours almost.
Yeah, it was a long time. So, Jim, you want to do everything you can to end a situation like this as safely and as peacefully as possible and without the loss of life. Unfortunately, because of the circumstances in this situation, it ended the way that it ended. That's a safe neighborhood. I would tell the folks in that neighborhood, don't be concerned about anything further as far as that situation is concerned. But the community is safe, and we want to make sure the community knows they're safe, and we're going to take care of that community.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.